Morning, guys. Hope all's well. Hope you had a good weekend. Um, we finished with module 21. Okay, that's sections on that chapter. So we're going to 22 today. Everything that we're going to be working with has to do with square roots. We're going to approach it all different ways, and keep up the good work. A lot of you are turning in quality assignments, and your grade is showing it. So keep doing a good job. And if you need help, please reach out to me. Gmail or email me. We could set up a Zoom time and go through some things. All right. All right, we know that 4 squared equals 16, but we know also that the quantity negative 4 squared is also 16. So every positive real number has 2 square roots. Plus or minus the square root of 64 equals the 2 roots of plus 8 and minus 8. So another example where we're taking a number that's not a perfect square and saying plus or minus the square root of 20, okay, we can break this down to be 4 times 5, and then we can take the square root of each of those, square root of 4 and the square root of 5, and we do know that 4 is a perfect square, so that becomes 2. Oh, I missed one little thing here. Okay, and we end up with the plus or minus 2 square root of 5. So you could say it that way, or you can say these are multiplied. Anyway, it comes from the square root of 4 being 2. 5 is a prime number. Okay, square root of 5. Now this case is a little different. We're having taking the square root of a fraction, and again we see the plus or minus square root. Both of these are perfect squares, so we say the perfect square, the square root, of 49 is 7, and the square root of 25 is 5. So plus or minus 7/5. So let's use this newfound knowledge to solve an equation that looks like this. First, we would add 36 to both sides. And our new equation, on the left side we have 4x squared, and on the right side we have 36. So obviously then we're going to divide by 4, and we get x squared equals 9. So I don't think we've seen this before, but in order to get the x by itself, we take the square root of both sides. So we take the square root of x squared and the square root of 9. So this would become x equals, because x times x is x squared, and this would become 3, but then we also will write plus or minus 3. Keep in mind that if we took negative 3 and squared it, it would equal 9. Okay, so the quantity negative 3 squared would be 9. That's why there's 2 answers.
When we take a square root when we're solving a quadratic, we have to remember to take both the positive and the negative square root. Basically, as sort of a general way of thinking about things, if we see a quadratic, we should be thinking of expecting 2 answers. So let's take a look at an example. X squared equals 25. There's an equation. And what I'd like us to do is solve that, not by factoring, but by taking the square root of both sides. So when I take the positive and negative square root of both sides, I see x equals plus or minus, well, the square root of 25 is 5. So this actually is a shorthand way of saying 2 answers. X equals negative 5, x equals 5. And so now, what do? Well, I can check the answer. I can put in negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. That checks. Put in 5 squared, 25. That checks. So we're in good shape. Let's try another example. All right. So let's see. I've got x squared equals negative 9. So I want to take the square root of both sides, but I've got some trouble because I cannot take the square root of negative 9. That is not a real number. So the problem here is that if you think about it, when I take a real number and square it, If the number is 0, then 0 squared is 0. And if the number is anything except 0, I take that real number and I square it, I get a positive number. So never will the square of a real number be negative 9. There are no solutions to this. And so while you'd want to take plus or minus square roots of both sides, you can, but once you take the square root of negative 9, you have left the world of real numbers into some imaginary world which we're not even thinking about. So we are actually going to say this has no solution.
These right here are my grandparents, who I called Nan and Pop. Okay, we're going to solve one more equation. I'll write this out for you, and then you'll do some practice problems. As you can see, the equation is 2x squared plus 5 equals 13. So first I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides to get 2x squared equals 8. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get x squared equal to 4. And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. X times x, square root of that is x. Square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. All right, guys, so that was a pretty short lesson. A couple of good concepts in there. I'm going to give you some problems to do. Let me tell you this, I can check and see who's viewing the video and how many people. And I know some of you guys are not looking at the video, so either some of you have someone at home that's doing the work for you, or you're going to an algebra app or something like that. Not really a good idea. Reason being, you're not going to learn the work. So next year and the year after in Algebra 2, when things come up with like factoring a trinomial, you're not going to know how to do it. So please put the time in. The videos are short. I put a little time and effort into it. Look at that first before you attempt to do the problems. Have a great day.